What is going on, guys? It is the Dark Horse MMA podcast, episode 10. Finally at the double-digit mark for I don't know how long. There are some fights over the weekend, this past weekend. Some crazy stuff has happened. In the meantime, it is currently Wednesday, October 14th for some reference for you guys that are listening or watching from YouTube. So we just had the Marlon Moraes and Cory Sandhagen, that card. Crazy card. I said in my last podcast, which you guys may or may not have listened to, I said, guys, you need to watch prelim fights. Low-key fighters, just because you don't know their name, just because you can't pronounce their name, which happens often, which even happened a few times on this card for myself, doesn't mean you shouldn't watch their fights. Guys, you need to watch prelim fights. I'm preaching this to the world, and I guarantee a lot of people learned that lesson the hard way this past weekend with that crazy KO finish from what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin Phoenix? Or no, Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin, is that an actor? I think that's an actor maybe. Joaquin Buckley and Impa Kazan. See, this is another guy. Impa Kazanag, whatever. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing his name. That was a crazy KO. I'm not going to go over the entire prelim card, but basically let me just brief over this. You know, there's some crazy KOs, 3 KOs in the row, first of all. KO, a couple of decisions, but they're all really good fights. So guys, don't sleep on prelim fights. Trust me. I learned this the hard way myself, but holy shit. What a crazy card. What an amazing card. Free for a free fight night. Unbelievable. I couldn't get over how crazy this card was. I was actually watching the prelims with my parents. I was watching it with my mom, and it was just hearing my mom's commentary with fights is just hilarious. You know, she's like, why can't you soccer punt like Randy Orton style people in the face? And I have to explain all this shit to her, which is always really fun and enjoyable for myself. But then once it comes to the main card, I'm straight in the basement. I'm straight. I have my blinders on and I'm tuned in. I'm live tweeting it. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, definitely follow me on Twitter at DarkhorseMMA _ I believe. I'll link it in my bio. Definitely follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. But yeah, man. So I'll just briefly go over what I have been up to quickly because I know you guys don't really care about it, but I got to do it because I got to address the people that do care, which might be my mom that watches this. But I don't even think she watches this, so it's fine. So basically today I had a kind of a funny little fail. I was actually planning on making my first highlight video because I wanted to, I mentioned this in my previous podcast where I wanted to, I'm kind of just figuring out ways to make videos that are going to basically pop off and get a lot of views and kind of blow up my brand, which is the ultimate goal right now for myself. So I obviously everyone knows that highlight videos are so popular. So I was like, you know what, why not give it a shot for this upcoming fight for Brian Ortega. I'm a Brian Ortega fan. I'm also a Korean Zombie fan. I can't wait for that fight. But basically I cut the clips, put them all together, edited them, put some bullshit music in the background, that whatever. It was good. I actually really liked it. It was a fun process. It was fun making it. It was fun. I was really focused on his transitions and stuff on the ground because he's a crazy jiu-jitsu player. But yeah, that was fun. So then it was. I was excited. I was anticipating getting a copyright claim when I posted it, but I kind of blurred out the logos and all that kind of stuff that I noticed other videos did. And then of course when I uploaded it to YouTube, boom, right away. Catch you later, mate. Your jokes, you're trying to take our shit. They basically just punted me in the face with that one, kicked me in the stomach, but it's fine, not a big deal. I only shed a few tears, not too many. No, but it was fun. It was a learning lesson, so I kind of rolled with the punches, to say the least, with that. But no, and then on Friday, my best friend Jules, if you guys do not know, he owns his own fitness company at Bionic Fitness. He has his own gym. And right after I record this, we're going over to hit a leg workout because he just got his squat rack in. Freaking, we're so excited. I slept over his house on Friday because it was his dad's girlfriend's birthday, and I of course brought my bottle of Proper 12 that on the last podcast I actually cracked open and got a little sauced on. We polished the shit out of that way too fast, and it put me out of commission for the next couple of days. I also got to see his new puppy named Ozzy. He's I don't know, he's like a black lab. Not actually a black lab, whatever. I don't know shit about dogs, but he's cute as shit, and I love him. He's going to be my best friend forever. But yeah, no, so that was fun. Put me out for a couple of days, and then, got the fights. So yeah, that Joaquin, a fun fact that I found out from that Joaquin Buckley and Impa knockout was that it was for sure one of the greatest KOs in UFC history. Some KOs that came to mind for my favorite KOs, or what I think are the greatest KOs in UFC history. If you're on YouTube right now, comment what you think what is the greatest KO in UFC history. I would love to hear it. Love to have a conversation with you guys on that, because that's such a fun topic to talk about with not casual fans, but it can be casual fans, whatever, guys. Let me know. Some that come to mind is that Edson Barboza spinning wheel kick KO. That was crazy. Of course, Masvidal Askren, fastest KO in UFC history. McGregor Aldo, that was a nasty one. This one was crazy. There's so many different KOs. Overeem Ngannou freaking took it. I didn't know someone's head could snap back that fast and still walk this earth. Some crazy knockouts throughout history, and it's still such a novice sport. It still has so much growth to do. But yeah, man, let me know. I would love to hear it. And if you're on Spotify, if you're listening, message me on Instagram. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, wherever. I'll link everything in the bio for you guys to reach out to me. But yeah, no. I'm just going to emphasize this one more time. Don't sleep on prelim fights. That's it. I'm not touching on that subject ever again. Okay? Until it happens again. Then maybe I'll rub it in your face a little more the next time. Just to teach you guys a lesson that still won't listen no matter what. So, let's get to the main card of the Marlon Moraes, Cory Sandhagen fight card. So, we got Youssef, Zalal, and Ilia Topuria. It was a featherweight bout. Excuse me, I just burped. Zalal, I'm just reading off some facts for you guys. Zalal had won his first 3 fights in the UFC. This was his 4th. He was aiming to be, I believe, at the time he was tied with the most wins in the UFC in 2020 with 3. So he was going for the number 1 spot with a win over Ilia if he were to get it. Oh my god, I'm burping so much. And this was Ilia's UFC debut. He kept saying in the broadcast for this fight, or not broadcast, whatever, the preview of this fight leading up to it, he was like, this guy's a white belt. He was talking bare shit about his ground game, kind of like the Paulo Costa throwing the white belt in. Izzy's facing him shitting his pants about, oh my god, I'm not a fucking black belt, I'll snatch your neck, or whatever bullshit he was saying. But yeah, no, it was a good fight, definitely a good fight. If you appreciate jiu-jitsu like myself, if you actually partake in jiu-jitsu in any sort of way, or even martial arts in general, but if you do partake in jiu-jitsu specifically, when a jiu-jitsu guy fights, obviously you're going to appreciate the fight more so than if you didn't. Obviously, it's common sense. So, another funny thing to point out was the fact that Zalal, he always walks out to I get money. And I kind of made a funny joke. Take it however you want, but I think it's pretty jokes. It's kind of ironic that you walk out to I get money. The Conor McGregor UFC 205 walkout. He walked out to that to 50 Cent to shout out, 50 Cent being from New York, I believe. I hope I'm not wrong with that. Yeah, no, he's definitely from New York. What the fuck am I saying? And he fights in the prelims. So it's kind of funny that like he's walking out to I get money and you're in the prelims and I don't know. I gotta love that confidence though. But Ilia was having none of that shit because he was taking down Zalal every time he was trying to throw a knee. And, even before I go even further into this, something I wanted to mention was that Zalal said he had some heart condition where his resting heart rate was 109, which is fucking crazy. If you guys don't have like a smartwatch or whatever to know what your heartbeat is, that just blows my mind, especially for a professional athlete. It's crazy. He says it helps him with training for some reason. I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist or whatever the fuck you'd call it. But yeah, man, that's interesting to say the least. Both these guys are so young too. Zalal's 24, Ilia is 23. Ilia was undefeated. He was a plus 130. Zalal 10-2 minus 150 favorite. And he was really frustrated that he didn't get a finish in his previous 3 UFC fights. So he was kind of really aiming for that finish. And like, I'm pretty sure in the beginning of his last UFC fight, he threw like some spinning wheel kick and the guy just ate it on the chin. He dropped him, but he survived. So that was kind of crazy. But no, basically for this fight, kind of the same thing throughout the fight. I'm not going to go too in depth through it because it's not the main event, obviously. Ilia basically was taking down Zalal, controlling him on the ground, getting him in submissions. He was transitioning from like an anaconda choke back to a guillotine, and then somehow Zalal would always end up on top, then eventually get back to his feet. Same thing happened over and over again. Zalal, he struggled a little bit keeping the center of the octagon. It's kind of the same thing with like any kind of grappler. You're facing a high-level grappler like GAETHJE and KHABIB. You got to stay off the fence because whenever the fight hit the fence for this one, Ilia was just taking him down. He landed a nice crazy slam in the first round. That was nice. Basically, yeah, so that was kind of the whole story of the fight. And even in the third round, like when I see a fighter make a mistake, such an obvious mistake, was that he's losing on the ground, obviously. He's getting dominated in the grappling exchanges. So he's a great striker, so he needed to keep the fight on the feet where he can land like a knee or something and hopefully KO his opponent. But instead, they got into the clinch, and then he pulled a classic Dustin Poirier move for all you Dustin Poirier fans out there. He pulled guillotine. He pulled guarding with a guillotine. A horrible mistake, especially with a high-level grappler. Ilia got right out of that, started smashing him with punches. Even though he slowed down a lot in the third round, ended up winning 29-28 unanimous decision. Ilia is 9-0 now in the octagon, and that was his first decision win, which is cool to point out. And something you also got to point out is the fact that he took this fight on short notice, on 8 days' notice. So that's something really impressive in itself. So fucking shout out Ilia. I don't know your last name, Ilia Topuria. So good for you, buddy. Always cool seeing a dominant grappler enter the sport. So now we will get into Tom Aspinall versus Alan Baudot. So Aspinall, he's actually Brendan Schaub licks this guy's balls, I think, every day. I don't know if you guys listen to Below the Belt. I'm not telling you to because it's a little iffy. A lot of people shit on Brendan Schaub a lot, but I kind of just listen to it to just laugh. But he also does provide a lot of insight because he has a lot of connections in the game from being a previous UFC fighter himself. But he just sucks Aspinall's nuts so much, and he even knows it. He's funny. He knows how biased he is with someone he knows that is fighting. He's never going to bet against them. He always tells everyone that's listening to never listen to his bets, which you got to respect because if people did, they would lose a fuck ton of money. I'm telling you that right now. But no, something cool about Aspinall is that I don't know if he is right now, but I know he was a sparring partner for the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury. I don't know, sorry for your boxing fans out there. Boxing is pretty bullshit. I don't like boxing at all compared to UFC or MMA in general. Sorry, no offense, whatever, just reality. It's a dying sport, all the bullshit decisions and whatnot. Being a training partner with Tyson Fury is only going to improve your footwork and your head movement, and that you clearly shows every time this guy fights. He doesn't move like a heavyweight. Dan Hardy even said, he's like, you got to weigh this guy. This guy's not a fucking heavyweight. He moves way too crisp, way too clean. He's way too light on his feet for heavyweight, which is very dangerous for that division. That athleticism in that division is terrifying for anyone that faces this man. He's not faced really high-level competition yet, but he's only going to get better. He's only going to evolve, and he's also a training partner with Mr. Raw Dog himself, Darren Till. And he's coming off his 45-second UFC KO debut. He's a high-level heavyweight prospect, obviously, and that KO, that 45-second KO, was the 4th fastest debut finish in modern UFC history. So I don't know about you guys if you've watched any of the old UFCs, just to laugh at how far the sport has come, but fucking guys used to fight like sumo wrestlers and kick them in the face. It was just a disaster, the sport back in the day. It was so funny. He has 100% finish rate in the first round, which is crazy. This guy is legit as they come. He's 8-2, and I believe he was he was the biggest favorite on the card at -650. So holy shit. Everyone knows how legit this guy is, probably from everyone listening to Brendan Schaub, sucking his balls. But yeah, okay, so and then Baudot, I don't want to leave this guy out. Baudot is 8-1, and this was his UFC debut. He took this fight on short notice because Aspinall's original opponent actually got COVID, unfortunately, and he was the biggest underdog on the card, I believe, at plus 475, and basically, there's a quick one, pretty easy to cover. Understandably, why Aspinall was the -650 favorite. Baudot was funny, right? He was like a video game right in the beginning. He was spanning the spinning back fist like constantly. It was so funny. He threw like it twice in a row, which you really don't see in the UFC at such a high level, which is kind of funny, but you understand because Aspinall with his legit boxing credentials. I don't know credentials, but he's a legit boxer if he wanted to be. Was just to kind of take him off his game, throw shit that he doesn't normally see. So I can understand it, but did not work out because Tom actually, they got against the cage. Tom had him against the cage, took him down, and then just landed elbows and strikes, and fucking Baudot turtle did not move whatsoever. He was a dead fish. Finished him with strikes. GG, mate. Good game. That's all she wrote with that one. And it was funny. Right after that fight, he was just shaking his head at the camera like he wasn't impressed. And he said to Dan Hardy in the interview, he was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm not impressed because I made mistakes in fucking like 70 seconds that my coach told me not to." And this guy was just upset at himself for it. So you gotta love how hard he is on himself. But Tom, you gotta appreciate your own performance. That was a crazy performance, obviously. Amazing KO. Good for you. TKO. Can't wait to see you fight next. You fucking have no scrapes or scratches on your face, so I'm sure you'll return soon. So let's go into the next fight. Was Markus Perez and Dricus du Plessis, whatever. Plessis, that's it. So Perez is this fucking guy. Perez, if you guys don't know, I don't blame you if you don't know. He's not the highest prospect. He's not the biggest name in the UFC, obviously, but I guarantee you will know every time he fights because the UFC posts it and everyone posts it. Me, myself included, he is the guy that dresses up as the Joker in his weigh-ins where he faces off against his opponent, which is so funny. And he's really creepy. He really goes into that method acting. I don't know what the fuck this guy. I don't know if he's like a Paul Felder, where he's like I don't want to say a wannabe actor. I love Paul Felder, but it's just funny. This guy like goes right into the character. He starts like licking his lips, the way the Joker does, like Heath Ledger, the actual Joker. And then when they walk away, he starts laughing. Like, he's fucking scary, man. It's definitely not normal, but I always love it. It reminds me of the other guy that dresses up as the Hulk. His name I can't really recall his name right now. And something about him is that he is actually the only guy other than Darren Till that's actually calling out Chimaev. No one's calling out that fucking Russian beast or Swedish beast. But yeah, so he was a plus 150 underdog, this guy. And then Plessis was one of the biggest middleweight prospects that the UFC signed. I know he was a two-weight division champion out of South Africa. It was his UFC debut. He finished all of his 14 wins, 5 KOs, 9 submissions, and he was 14-2 coming into this fight. He was actually the favorite at -170. And right away, Perez came out with his kung fu style. Came out of the gate, pressure right away with his kung fu style, kind of like a Conor McGregor, wide, low hands, wide stance. Put the pressure on Plessis right away. While Plessis was just ripping leg kicks, he looked a little overwhelmed at the beginning. But Dan Hardy was saying from his fighting days in South Africa, he was known to actually land nice counters. He was a good counter striker, and that was obviously shown in this fight. It was funny. I didn't think he looked the best. Like, he looked like he was kind of shitting his jocks in that fight. He looked a little overwhelmed, and then Perez decided to throw this Yair Rodriguez elbow that he landed on Korean Zombie and then ended up getting clipped at the side of the head. Shout out Conor McGregor KOing Dustin P-Head Poirier. The exact same shot, placement-wise. Dropped him, and then he finished him with strikes. He was fucking another dead fish on the ground, face down on the mat. Great win. Great win for Plessis. It's awesome seeing a guy in his UFC debut win. It's always cool seeing their, enjoyment after they get that biggest win of their lives, like one of the greatest memories they'll ever have. And then, he was the winner by round one by KO. And he actually called out Kevin Holland he specifically mentioned Kevin Holland, but he also said, whatever top 20 opponent the UFC will give me, I will take. So that's awesome to see. I can't wait to see that guy fight again. He's a legit prospect, middleweight division. Probably not the deepest division in the UFC, obviously not the strongest, but the UFC will take any sort of prospect they can get with any division. It doesn't matter what. Especially the women's featherweight division. Amanda Nunes is probably gonna fight her freaking kid if she has to. Holy shit, feel bad for her in that division. Okay, the next fight. Let's just get this over with. Ben Rothwell, the guy who's fought since freaking the 1800s, versus Marcin Tybura. Rothwell, this was his 51st pro MMA fight. Something I have to point out, he is probably the weirdest walkout I've ever seen in my life. This guy wearing this big-ass hood with this thick wooden cross on his neck. The weirdest music. It wasn't even vocals. It was just this background music of a horror movie or a really intense movie. It was so weird, but I loved it though. That's the thing. I don't know. I love these characters. He's such a character. He's been around for so long. He's literally fought everyone. He's beaten Alistair Overeem, which is crazy because he's one of the best strikers in the UFC's heavyweight division. Some say he's the best striker the UFC, the heavyweight division across all organizations has ever seen. He has 28 first-round finishes, and he was the minus 140 favorite. Tybura walked out to one of the greatest walkout songs in combat sports. Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Steppers. Red Hot Chili Steppers. He has the highest takedown defense in UFC heavyweight history at 82.1%. And going into this fight, he was 19-6 and was a plus 120 underdog. So basically, it's kind of the first fight of the main card, the Zalal Tybura fight. Same thing happening throughout. Both guys put in a lot of high output striking wise for heavyweights. It was just the same thing. Both were kind of exchanging. It was close, very close up until the third round. And then Tybura actually took Rothwell down, which is a challenge in itself, and landed some great ground and pound for a few minutes. Basically, that won him the fight ultimately. And so he won via unanimous decision 29-28 by all three judges. And he says he wants a top 10 opponent next. And it's cool seeing another Polish guy win after Jan Blachowicz just won the light heavyweight belt by starching Dominic Reyes, which I have to say I called, which no one agreed upon. Maybe a select few, but everyone was giving me shit about that. So whatever, it is what it is. So now the co-main event is Edson Barboza and Makwan Amirkhani. This guy, featherweight bout. Barboza was number 14th ranked featherweight. He looked like a different human, Edson, going into this fight. He had hair. He's usually bald, and he had a beard. He's usually clean shaven. So it was literally the polar opposite of what he normally looks like. Other than that, still just diced to the fucking gills. This guy's so ripped. Probably negative 5% body fat, this man. His 30th pro MMA fight. He's fought literally everyone at 155 pounds. His track record at 155 pounds for being, constantly a high-ranked guy at that division. Arguably, in my opinion, personally, I think it's the deepest division in the UFC. Probably the only thing that's rivaling is probably the bantamweight division, maybe the welterweight also. So he's literally fought the who's who of the lightweight division, the deepest division in the UFC, and he's been a high-ranked guy in that division throughout his career. He's the only fighter in UFC history to have finishes by head, body, and leg kick. So watch out for his fucking leg kicks. Watch out for his kicks in general, actually, because he's a monster. Fastest, he's the guy who got the first spinning wheel kick KO, which I mentioned earlier in this podcast. He's also tied for the most knockdowns in UFC history with 7, which is kind of surprising to me. I thought there'd be some guy with more than that. 7 just seems way too low, but I'm obviously just overestimating people. And he was a minus 250 favorite, so he was a decent favorite in this card or in this fight, and he was 20-9 going into this fight. Amirkhani, before I go into him, if you guys haven't seen him, that video of him eating an apple and he posted on Facebook and him talking about it in a press conference, and when a reporter asked him about it, definitely watch it. Search it up on YouTube. It's really funny. Other than that, he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, and even before that, he was even calling the matchmakers, telling them to match him up with Edson, which is ballsy in itself because no one wants to fight Edson Barboza. That man's a fucking scary individual. Nice guy, but terrifying fighter. He's a fantastic submission artist who is tied for the 3rd most submission wins in UFC featherweight history, and he's tied for the second fastest finish in featherweight history at 8 seconds, and he has probably one of the best anaconda chokes I've ever seen. The way he switches it up, definitely go watch that guy's highlights for anaconda chokes if you are into that kind of thing, because that's one of my anaconda and darce. I don't know, for some reason, me personally, that's my favorite choke in combat sports, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to say. He was 16-4, and he was a plus 210 underdog because he obviously took this fight on 2 weeks' notice. And so just getting into the fight, at the beginning, people were expecting Amirkhani to start off really fast because, with the history of Edson Barboza, Justin Gaethje kind of exposed it. If you really put the pressure on him, he's not as scary fighting backwards, which does make the most sense. So everyone was kind of anticipating Amirkhani to start right off the gate. And that 8-second finish of his that he has on his record, he literally sprinted at the guy and just beat the shit out of him with his right hand, put him to sleep quick. For this fight, did not start out that way because I feel like Edson was kind of anticipating that happening. So basically, these guys were kind of filling each other out, weren't really doing much. Edson was kind of landing the teeps to the body kicks, while Amirkhani was trying to lead that check lead hook to counter Edson. Excuse me. And so in that fight, Edson was just digging to the body in the first round. Specifically his right shovel hook he was kind of landing, and there's like back leg roundhouse kicks to the body. So that was pretty nasty. He was landing. Amirkhani had some nice stiff jabs too. Nothing crazy significant from both fighters in that round. But holy shit, the second round was complete opposite because Edson Barboza dropped Amirkhani's ass twice with a straight right hand on his chin. The exact same shot, probably like a couple minutes or so right after the first one, or between each other. It was crazy, yeah. And then it was funny enough that right after he dropped him for both times from the right hand, he was looking for Amirkhani's own anaconda choke. He was trying to get him with his own signature choke. Gotta respect that. I was really hoping for him to sneak in that choke because obviously I really do want to see Edson win because I feel like he got kind of the shitty end of the stick when it comes to the judges' decisions this past few fights, especially the Ige fight. Shitty. No, Edson, I love him. He's such an amazing striker, so I really did want to see him win. But Amirkhani is legit as they come, especially as a grappler. So he dropped him twice in the second round. Had to be a 10-8, obviously, at least. And, he actually almost sunk in. The second time he dropped, he almost sunk in that anaconda choke. It looked pretty deep, but Amirkhani obviously is basically the father of that choke, so he knew how to get out of it. Got out of that pretty easily. And then, throughout that fight, whenever Amirkhani tried to shoot on Edson's sprawling is one of the best. He's one of the best sprawlers in his division. in the UFC because, you know, with his fast kicks that also can relate to him having strong hips. So, you know, basically that also relates to him being able to sprawl very fast if someone were to shoot on him, because Edson is known to be a very hard guy to take down, which just shows how legit KHABIB is. You know, even though everyone already knows that, you just appreciate him a little bit more just because of that, because of, you know, when you see Edson stuff these legit grapplers like with ease. So then Edson in the last like 30 seconds was really pushing the pace on Amirkhani, and basically just further put the stamp on him winning that fight, and he actually won by unanimous decision. Fucking finally got a judge's decision his way. So he's now 21-9, and he was preaching to the camera that he wants a top 6 opponent next in the featherweight division. And he's preaching, he's like, I want to be champion. He needs to be champion. That'd be obviously awesome to see, because he's such a great fighter and a great person. So I hope I don't really see him getting a top 6 opponent next. I don't know what the schedule is saying for featherweight, the top 6 opponents, but maybe, you never know. Crazier shit has happened in 2020, as we all know, unfortunately. So going into the Marlon Moraes and Cory Sandhagen fight. This fight, man, I was so excited for this fight. The bantamweight division, obviously, like I said previously, is one of the strongest divisions in the UFC. You know, it's right up there with featherweight, bantamweight, and lightweight, maybe welterweight also. Definitely it's probably top 2, I'd say. But yeah, no, Cory's coming off that unfortunate loss to Aljo. Aljo fucking just put the pressure on him right away, choked him out. And then Marlon's coming off, I believe, that unanimous decision win or split decision win over Jose Aldo that everyone thought he lost. But yeah, no, so I'm not too sure. It's either he's coming off that Aldo win. I'm pretty sure it's the Aldo win. I don't think it's the Henry Cejudo loss. So anyways, regardless, he's the number 1 ranked bantamweight contender. He's one of 3 bantamweights with 2 finishes by a leg strike in UFC history, and he's tied for 4th most bantamweight wins since 2017 at 5, and he's 23-6-1, and he was actually, for being the number 1 contender, he was a plus 125 underdog, which actually caught a lot of people off guard. Kind of just shows that a lot of people knew how legit Cory was, and kind of the way Marlon looked in his Henry Cejudo fight showed his lack of heart and his cardio. You know, it's understandable. I personally had Cory winning. I'll get into it in like a couple minutes, but Cory, first of all, sick back tattoo. I'm obviously a guy that appreciates tattoos myself. He was the number 4 ranked fighter going into this fight. He has the highest striking rate in UFC bantamweight history at 6.49 strikes per minute, and he's 12-2, and he was a minus 145 favorite. And he was coming, and as I said previously, he's coming off that quick loss to Aljo. So yeah, for me personally, with this fight, I was thinking that Cory's just gonna have to weather the storm in the first couple of rounds, because Marlon is a killer. He has crazy power at this his weight class. Cuts a fuck ton of weight. He's a huge man for 135. He has huge legs, some of the biggest legs I've ever seen in that division. His switch kick, his switch head kick, his leg kicks. He's a motherfucker in that division, as Joe Rogan would say. But Cory, man, Cory's elusive. Cory's 5'11". He's big. He's tall. He's lanky for that division. He switches stances. He's unpredictable. He's never square to his opponent. He's always a moving target. He's very unpredictable. Has a great ground game. He has great strikes. He's you can't. He's one of those fighters that you can't prepare for. You can't really bring in sparring partners for unless you like create a character in UFC 4 or some shit. He's just one of those guys, and he has great cardio. So if I was a betting man, I even tweeted this out. So if you guys don't fucking believe me, but I was saying that Cory was gonna have to weather the storm, but then Marlon's gonna gas out, and I saw Cory finishing Marlon by TKO in the 4th round. But yeah, no, guys, if you're on YouTube, comment what your prediction was for this fight. Comment Who you think should be next for Marlon? Who you think should be next for Cory? But yeah, no, guys, I would love to hear it. Love to know what you guys have to say with this fight. So, basically in the first round, both guys were exchanging leg kicks in the beginning. Cory was showing great elusiveness with his, tall frame and his, I believe he had a bigger reach by a couple inches or whatnot. Getting right out of the way with those power leg kicks. He did have to eat a couple of those fucking nasty leg kicks. Had to weather the storm a little bit. Nothing too crazy landed of his. So he did the typical Cory Sandhagen thing. Sandman, switching stances, giving him different looks, picking him apart, kind of touching. He was touching him whenever he switched stances, whatever hand was the lead hand. He was kind of just touching him, kind of just irritating Marlon a little bit. Nothing too significant. Basically just kind of to bait him into, really exploding and leaving himself hanging, maybe overextending and catching him with his chin hanging out maybe. So right in the second round, Cory, after he had landed a head kick, he noticed that Marlon's orbital bone actually broke. He spotted it up because it actually happened to a training partner of his earlier in his fight camp. So right away he was like, he pointed it out to him, which I thought was so funny. He pointed out to me, he's like, his orbital bone's broken. And I kind of fucked with Marlon. You can kind of see it. Marlon was like, oh my God, my orbital bone's broken. Holy shit. And then right after he did that, fucking Cory was like, okay, bitch. He did a spinning wheel kick and clipped Marlon on the temple, on the kind of forehead temple area. Dropped him. He did a back roll, and then Cory finished him with strikes. People were saying it was an early stoppage. I can definitely see that. I don't agree with it because Marlon wasn't protesting it himself, which for me shows that he was actually really hurt. If he's not protesting a kind of like a bullshit stoppage, some people would say, then it only just further proves that it was a good stoppage, because if he was fine, like every other fighter that's had a bullshit stoppage themselves against them, they're going to protest. They're going to be in the ref's face like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm fine. I'm normal. Like, I can walk. I can do the salsa. I'm completely functional. I can still scrap. Marlon wasn't complaining whatsoever. He kind of was like, I didn't see that coming. You could hear him too in the background with the mics, which is really funny with the no fans. You always hear these like funny little comments that the fighters say after the fight or even during the fight. But yeah, man, what a fucking fantastic spinning wheel kick. KO or TKO, whatever you want to call it. It was officially a TKO in the second round. It was funny. Like, Cory was even saying, he's like, yeah, the reason because he doesn't normally throw a spinning wheel kick to the head. That's not something he normally does. He kind of was contributing that, or he said he landed that kick because of all the hard work he was putting on his punching bag, and during quarantine because quarantine he wasn't able to go to the gym, so he's kind of doing his own thing at home, and he's really just beating the shit out of his heavy bag, trying new things, and look at that, it fucking paid off. So that's always cool seeing a guy who doesn't normally train something land that in a fight. Like, if a lot of guys they will see something on Instagram and they'll try it out, like Bryce Mitchell actually landed the twister after seeing it on Instagram or YouTube, I believe, which is really funny. The second time that's ever happened in UFC history. First time the Korean Zombie himself, who's fighting this weekend. That's gonna be a crazy fight. But yeah, man. So Cory, he said in the post-fight interview that he wants either TJ Dillashaw after he comes back from having that needle in his ass, or Frankie Edgar, who got that split decision win over Pedro Munoz, which kind of a lot of people were disagreeing with. I'm not going to complain because I love Frankie Edgar. Sorry to say, but Pedro Munoz, he'll be back. I don't really care. Frankie's getting up there in age. I want to see him get that fucking belt back. So that's going to be a crazy fight. TJ and Cory, that's a crazy stylistic fight for any striking fans out there, which is basically everyone on this fucking earth. That would be a sick fight. Holy shit. Just thinking about that right now. I hope that happens. I would love to break that down and analyze these two guys. Obviously would not make a highlight video of either one of them because they would just get taken down by fucking YouTube. But yeah, man, says he wants either one of those guys and wants the belt after he starches them. So awesome to see. I'm happy I predicted that fight right. I love it always hits differently when you fucking predict a fight right that a lot of people were saying otherwise. Like I said previously, the Dominic Reyes Jan Blachowicz fight. This was another one. Always cool to say. Another one was my Khabib Justin Gaethje fight, because I say Justin Gaethje is going to beat Khabib. Everyone gives me shit about that. I will post a card on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube, to check that out. Definitely check that shit out. I put a lot of work into that. There's a lot of fun facts. I break down the fight. There's a fun fact that I guarantee you none of you have heard about, because me, when I was researching that fight, I didn't know it myself, so it caught me off guard. Definitely check that out. But yeah, man, so the fight card coming up, got Korean Zombie, Brian Ortega. I think that has Fight of the Year written all over it. Dana White was boosting Izzy and Costa all day, but I fucking said that Izzy was going to starch Costa, because Costa didn't have anything to bring Izzy. People were just so flabbergasted by his fucking biceps that they were thinking he was going to get starched. He was going to starch Izzy. But yeah, man. Okay, guys, I know you were just as excited as me for the Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje fight in a couple weeks. I'm so excited. And because of that, you need to watch my breakdown and prediction on that fight. It's a shocking prediction. It's going to blow your mind. And to watch that, you got to click right here. And make sure to subscribe for multiple videos every week coming from the fans' perspective. All MMA, all unfiltered, all unbiased. I swear, I don't give a fuck. Make sure to subscribe. All from the fans' perspective. No Ari Helwani bullshit here. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Take care.